whose bright idea it was to name a band Bullet For My Valentine. I mean, really, whenever you think of a Valentine, a bullet is not something you want to give your Valentine unless they've been, fucking around on you with a, toaster or a triceratops, or Billy who lives down the street who has a, 7-inch cock, which is, topping your 2-incher. Well, you can probably guess what I'm talking about today. We're going to talk about Temper Temper, the new Bullet For My Valentine album. Yeah, these guys are 4 albums in, and, well, their first album really kind of garnered a lot of attention. And Scream Empire kind of continued where that left off, and a lot of people really enjoyed that album, but that, for me, is kind of where the band started to go downhill a little bit. And with the release of their third album, well, it just really, really went downhill from there, to the point of utter shit. So, with Temper Temper coming out, it's actually kind of intriguing to find out which side of this band actually was going to show up on this record. Now, for those of you who have been hiding under a rock or just, woke out of a 20-year coma, Bullet For My Valentine is considered to be a more modern metal band. Yeah, they're still classifying these guys as metal. First off, that's wrong. It's more of a modern rock band. There's that metallic influence and the solos that you would hear in, I guess, modern metal, if you really want to throw it down that road, but whereas with a band like Atreyu, whenever they first started out, they were more toward the metalcore and then kind of shifted away toward more conventional modern rock. This band has kind of remained consistent with that, only adding a metallic element here or there. With Temper Temper, I feel like I have common complaints that perhaps would bring down any album, but for these guys, it's definitely one where it's being bogged down incessantly. There's many, many things that can be done with lead singles. The 2 that they chose were Temper Temper and Riot. And both of these songs really are muddied down by just really unconventional and poor lyrics. And by unconventional, I mean unconventionally piss poor. These are some of the simplest lyrical concepts that I've ever heard in my most recent memory as a reviewer. And I've reviewed some pretty bad shit. Remember, I did review an ICP album. Yeah, ICP. But also, it's bogged down by the fact that these rhythms, these melodies that they're using to drive these songs, kind of the driving force to try to expand the song to any further horizons, they just sound so goddamn cliche and typical. Damn it. Hold on. They're really cliche and typical. Whenever that happens, it's one of those things that as a reviewer who's listened to a lot of music in his life, you start to see things coming. You start to get like that supernatural power that you don't want to have, where you can see the hook, where you can hear the solo. Everything's almost in your head a minute before it happens, and whenever it happens, it doesn't actually do anything to help the album, it just pisses you off. This is an album that's right full of that. Now, granted, some of the solos aren't that bad, but that's something that's always been Bullet For My Valentine's strength. The real piss-poor aspect of the... Hold on! For Christ's sake, all I want to do is do a review of this shitty piece of crap. You want to? You want to? Alright. Apparently, what I'm saying isn't good enough, so I'm going to get someone else to do it. Honestly, I thought I was enough, but I guess I'm not. So enjoy this. That's right. Box me, motherfuckers. That motherfucker does not know how to review this album, but I do, so I'm taking over this piece of shit. Bullet For My Valentine, Temper Temper. After 4 albums, you think this band would actually be great, legendary, a classic, considering their first album was, well, even listenable to me. At this point, though, everyone thought I was dead. He thought I was dead. You guys thought I was dead because he thought I was dead. I wish I was dead. Quite honestly, I've read better lyrics on a truck stop bathroom wall in Omaha, Nebraska than I've heard on this album. Seriously. Songs such as POW, Leeches, Living Life at the Edge of the Knife. Living Life at the Edge of the Knife is just a song for 14-year-olds that make themselves feel like they're dirty little rock stars, or living life on the edge, or, doing something with their lives that involves, something dangerous. Well, Boxme said, you're full of shit. You're 14 years old, the most dangerous thing that you're doing is cutting class by 2 minutes. Either that or setting off a smoke bomb in the toilet, or whatever the hell kids do these days. Oh yeah, that's right, they shoot up their schools. Funny how things work out. But at any rate, on a song such as Dirty Little Secret, where the lines are just repeated instead of writing an actual bridge, Boxme goes fucking insane. Seriously, I almost flipped my lid over this fucking track. They could have written anything. They could have written 3 lines of nonsense. They could have made up words. But instead, they just decided to go with Dirty Little Secret, Dirty Little Secret, Dirty Little Secret, or however the hell it was sung. It was balls. It was garbage. Now, one thing to be praiseworthy, the guitar work on this album wasn't completely terrible.
It's just that the rhythm work and the melodies behind this shit were so goddamn predictable, I felt like having an aneurysm. And I almost did. Imagine that. A box having an aneurysm. It would look a little something like...
Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to take some time for Box Me to recover from his recent aneurysm. Yeah, that's really what this album could be considered. It's aneurysm-inducing. It's so simplistic and bogged down, and it's really not simplistic in the ways as other albums, because with other albums, you kind of hold it to a lower standard. And whenever you do that, whenever you hear the simplicity, it's not all that surprising. But with a band like Bullet For My Valentine, that kind of came out of the gate with such a fury and ferocity that kind of made them unique amongst the modern metal or modern rock genre, well, this is something where it's a disappointment. It's something that honestly, if fans praise this thing, they're lying through their teeth. It's almost like an Iron Maiden fan listening to, I don't know, Virtual XI for the first time and claiming it to be their best album. It's like, you know, Metallica fans listening to Saint Anger and praising it to be the greatest album that was ever spawned in the history of mankind. It's all lying through your teeth. 14-year-olds might praise this because it has plenty of those nice little efforts that they can use for Facebook or Twitter or Imager or whatever the fuck bullshit is out there now, but whenever it comes down to it, whenever it comes to replayability and the accessibility of this music, it definitely has some accessibility. It's going to bring in some more simplistic fans. However, whenever it comes to replayability, it's pretty minimal. Whenever you're rehashing the idea of Tears Don't Fall and fucking it up, there's a really, really big problem. And there's a big problem spattered all around this album. Its very existence is very contrived. Its very existence is very damaging to the senses. It's one of those things where you almost wish at this point, considering it's been 3 years since their last release, that they maybe would have taken another year to make something a little bit heavier. It sounds like this is a release that they could have penned in 20 minutes. And whenever you have that kind of a release that comes out after a 3-year wait, something that sounds as though they're just going through the motions, doing it by the books, having somebody whispering in their ear like Bob motherfucking Rock, well, that's where the disappointments happen. That's where your Lulus, your Ludivinium Insanuses, your Saint Angers, your Diabolus and Musicas of the world all happen. Your Dedicated the Chaoses, etc., etc., etc. Don't pick this up. Seriously, if you have a brain in your skull, and I know some of you out there are going to be curious enough to forget the fact that you have a brain in your skull, you won't pick this up. This is an album that's definitely not worth your time. It's not worth your hard-earned money. Fuck this band. I remember seeing them in 2008. I was on Matt Tuck and Bullet For My Valentine's tour bus. He was in a Nixon mask. I really wish now I would have slipped them some inspirational shit like, don't sell your soul to the man, you weird fuck. Because if you do that, your third and fourth albums are going to blow harder than a fucking elephant with a caveman. Yeah, that's how bad. We're talking about role reversal. Not the caveman blowing the elephant blowing the caveman. Yeah, that bad. Anyway, after finishing up this video, considering, you know, we already know the score of this, it's a big but fat abominable 2, go check out the videos by Count Blaggeroth. Count is definitely a guy who's an up-and-comer that you definitely need to check out if you haven't already. Also, Mr. Cannibal Spork. Yeah, Ginger Aries Blood. That was fucking hilarious, dude. And Duncan, man. Duncan's also an up-and-comer. And anybody else that decides to talk ill about this album. Mainly because they're telling you the truth. They're not saying that just to be an asshole. They're not saying that just to piss off the whole entire preteen crowd of creation. They're saying it because whenever you talk about the grand scheme of things, and some of these guys were fans of the band prior, but whenever you talk about the grand scheme of things, this one's a laugher, this one's a pisser, this one's a shitter, this one's a sucker.